Sunday afternoon. They come from all over to witness a double Hare Krishna wedding at the Indian temple in Belfast, once a Methodist church. It's also a marriage of another kind, between two almost alien faiths and cultures, Christianity and Hinduism, Irish and Indian. The petite Sonia McGarr from Naas, County Kildare, is about to commit herself to Michael O'Hare, a former altar boy from an East Belfast Catholic parish. The other bride, a Jewess, is to marry a lad from Liverpool. This is the stuff of culture shock. Any mother, father, brother or sister might well ask, what motivates people to take such a drastic leap of faith and culture?
Well, one problem is that Ireland isn't multicultural, isn't multiracial or multi-religious. So it is a culture shock. There's no reference point. Who are these people? What is Hinduism? What is Vaishnavism? These are not known terms. If parents have problems like that, they should sit down with their children and try to understand them. The one thing I would say is don't close the door. Don't think that this isn't my child anymore. It is your child. I've seen many instances where parents have rejected their children and their children have been very upset about that. They've made a decision in their lives and respect the decision.
Place one spoonful on the top of the coconut.
Maybe it's a phase they're going through. They'll only be involved in Krishna consciousness for a few years, whatever. I mean, that has to be taken into consideration, and that happens quite a lot.
So in every country, every nation, there is some form of ceremony by which people promise each other a certain commitment. Have the rings? Where are those rings? No, that's okay, keep them going. We need as many blessings as possible for these couples. Yeah. Anytime will do.
But from our side, we have to take the responsibility to help people understand who we are, what we're about. We have very strict moral codes. We have something to offer society. We have something to offer their children, you know, and they should help. We'd like to help them understand that. Initially, again, my mother didn't know how to react. She came to the temple in Dublin, and there I was with shaven head and saffron robes. There was only about 12 of us in the country at the time, so she thought it was a punk rock band I joined, actually. But anyway, yeah, she was quite upset for a couple of years, and I had a chat with her after a couple of years. I was also very young, and my reaction was also very immature, I think. And we sat down and we talked about it, and I said, look, this is what I want to do with my life. If I marry, I want to marry a Hare Krishna. We're going to have Hare Krishna kids. You know, that's my destiny. Would you respect that? And I'll respect you. And from then on, we got on very well together, actually. And I think I have a much deeper and more understanding relationship with my mother than I ever had.
It's like it's a monastic lifestyle. Like the devotees, they get up quite early in the morning time and they chant early, and they have these, we have our programs in the morning. We generally go through the day doing general chores and whatever we have to do around the island. And some people also, they go out and they distribute our literature or books and so on.
This is in Ishrath, an island owned by the Hare Krishnas on Upper Lough Erne. And the Hare Krishnas are a group I don't know very much about. But with me here is the temple president, Manu Das. He was formerly known as Martin Davies from Glasnevin. Manu, could you tell me briefly, what do the Hare Krishnas actually believe in?
Well, the main point from the Hare Krishna point of view is that we believe in the chanting of God's names. We understand there's only one God, but he has many, many names. And it's like in many religions, they have the name of God is praised, like Allah be praised, or hallowed be thy name, or thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. So that is really our basis, because what we do is we chant the names of God very sincerely. Every day we chant something in the region of 16,000 names of God. And in this way we purify our existence and become closer to God.
People are probably wondering, how can you afford to buy a place like this?
Yeah, well, it's well, it is just in north of Ireland, so it wasn't as expensive as people sort of think it might have been. And we had a very good bank manager, and he was very kind to us and allowed us to get it on a mortgage. And we have lots of different ways, really. There's people who are full-time supporters, and they'll give whatever they can, and some bequests and things like that. And generally we have a small but pretty loyal following.
When you think of the Hare Krishnas, this is probably one of the most familiar sights that comes to mind. Making music, dancing and chanting play an integral part in the life and faith of the Hare Krishnas, because they believe that calling on the name of their god, Hare Krishna, will ultimately purify and transform them and the world they live in.
Krishna consciousness is an extremely ancient religion, steeped in the traditions of Hinduism. It was brought to the West in 1966 by an elderly Indian monk, Srila Prabhupada. Maybe the way it presents itself today is new, as in shops and restaurants like this one in Dame Street, for instance. But its scriptures, the Bhagavad Gita, and its spiritual writings go back as far as the Old Testament. Today, the Hare Krishnas cater spiritually for those disillusioned with a materialistic society. One devotee discovered Krishna at the rock festival Fela in Thurles.
Well, the first thing was the music, the chanting, because it was very spiritual. It was a nice, atmosphere there. It wasn't like outside their tent. It was quite a lot of intoxication, a lot of people that were quite rowdy and, getting a bit heavy. But in there, it was much nicer. There was no real violence, although there was a bit of food and stuff thrown on the stage. But it was nice and calm, and they weren't intoxicated. They were enjoying themselves. And you could see that they weren't drunk or on drugs like anyone else, There was a lot of people that were around at the time.
Just ordinary boiled basmati rice, Indian rice, and the sabji, which is the vegetables, mixed vegetables. It's fried potatoes and fried curd.
I was raised Roman Catholic, and on Sundays with my dad and my 3 brothers and 3 sisters, until I was about 13 or 14, I used to go to church in the morning every Sunday. And then when I got to about 13, we started saying we go to church on our own with our friends, but we just didn't really go. And that was, in school as well. I had religion classes every day in school. It was a basic Roman Catholic background, really.
And what about